Hey team, today we're going to have a side-by-side look at Airtearoa at Christchurch Adventure Park. If you didn't know, back in February 2017, just 6 short weeks after opening, the park was struck by a devastating forest fire. So here on the left, you're going to see on the 12th of January 2017, just 1 month before the fire, a point of view from my chest cam. And on the right, from the 4th of May 2019, just 2 and a bit years after the fire. Let's see what's changed about the trails and the scenery. So I think the first thing you'll notice is the view. Without the trees there, you get an uninterrupted view of Christchurch all the way out to the Southern Alps. So dropping into Airtearoa, you'll see there's no change. We've still got the squirrel catcher at the top. And then the first 100 metres is a little bit different in the layout. On the left, you've got a more flowy trail. On the right, you've got a few more big hitters like this one. Big berms hold your speed there, and from about now we change to the same trail. On the left, I'm shooting on a GoPro 4 with a gimbal. You can see that it can't quite keep up with the G-forces. And on the right, a GoPro Black with Hyper Smooth on. The gimbal was bulky, sucked the battery, but was a game changer at the time for smooth footage. It's really amazing how far image stabilization like GoPro Hyper Smooth has come in a short few years. This new step up on the right is way better. On the left, you really had to be on your A game to make it. So there's a couple of big downsides without having the trees. One would be the shelter from the wind. Hard to tell, but on the left, it's actually a really windy day. One of the trickiest things with Airtearoa post-fire, the way that it wraps around the side of the mountain is the wind changes direction on all the jumps. So you might have a headwind where you have to pedal a bit harder to clear the jumps, which then turns into a side wind, which is not great on these big hits like this, where you get blown off. And then you might get around the corner and then you've got a tailwind, so you have to remember to slow down a little bit for the next double so you don't go to flat. The other thing I find without the trees is it's very hard to get a perception of how fast you're going. With the trees in your peripheral vision, it's really easy to judge your speed. Without them, it's quite hard. You feel like you're going quite slow till you hit the jumps and realize you're flying quite far through the air. And probably the biggest downside of not having trees is the trail erosion. You just get a lot more wind, you get a lot more rain on the trail surface. You can see all the ruts that have formed. Unfortunately, it's just not something that trail maintenance crew can keep up with, no matter how hard you try. Good to see though, those trees on the right are growing back, and this is year-old footage. So even now in 2020, the trees are definitely getting bigger. They're nearly as tall as myself, so not that tall really, but hopefully in a few years they'll be really sheltering the trail again. On the left, 27.5-inch Enduro 160mm bike. On the right, my 29er downhill bike with 190mm of travel. I like the Enduro bike for the speed you can carry, but prefer the secure feeling of the long travel DH bike and its room for error on the bigger jumps of this trail. Lot of flow through this section, a lot of fun. Come in with a lot of speed for this Buddha, it's quite cool. Nice wee no-hander there, Todd.
Finally. Now you're going to take a photo. Real action. Need to fix this.
Quite like this little road gap here. Flat out across this section. Couple of big berms. you're new to this trail, you want to take it pretty easy through these two big jumps down here. You're going fast, they're not as big as you think. It's quite easy to send to flat. You're really brake checking into them. Now here's where it all changes. Unfortunately, the video on the right comes to an end now. Since the fire, this lower section has not been rebuilt. This is all existing footage. So I really miss this lower section of Airtearoa. It was a lot of fun. You had a similar squirrel catcher back there at the top. Flow through some big berms here. And then I remember this was always a bit tricky because you had a couple of big jumps, and then this jump in the middle here was actually quite small. This one's quite a bit bigger. Caught by the wind there, blown to the side. You can see the difference, the kind of open area max when you're caught by the wind. This trail was huge for my progression in jumping. It took me from kind of being afraid to jump to not really minding. A couple of months after this video, went to Whistler and had no problems coming in blind, down A-line, dirt merchant, all the big jumps, no problem clearing them. Just super confidence inspiring hitting this sort of stuff repeatedly. You know, this is actually a lunchtime lap, I remember. Left work, and each one of these laps, you know, it's a 10-minute lap down the hill, 10 minutes back up on the lift, couple of laps and you're done. Psyched up. This is always quite interesting, super dusty around there. You have this drop, and you've got to maintain all your speed, tuck in, big pop, step up. And then you always wanted to be a bit careful around here. There was always little loose rocks on the trail. I mean big, loose rocks on the trail. It'd be great to see this trail back at Cap. So much fun, but yeah, it's a lot of work for the guys there to do that. Other trails cut over it now, and a huge amount of machine work to do it. Fingers crossed one day, eh? I think Tyler Brooker flipped that jump. Pretty big old Buddha. Around here, you'd start to come around into the open again. You could see the chairlift from here. Bit of heckling off the rock here. Had to be careful in the wind there, you get blown around. Big old step down to another Buddha. Good old dead sailor there. Around a couple more big berms. Then we come in above the chairlift. Pickup point. Picking up some speed down here. Getting a few pedals in. Coming into the final section here. So you can actually ride this last section of the trail now as well. You can hike up just before the chairlift on your right, and you'll end up just about here dropping in. So you can hit the shark fin and the last two Buddhas. All with a view from the cafe. So don't mess it up. And that's it, that's all. That's the lap of Airtearoa, pre and post fire. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see this trail again open soon. See you next time.
That's it.